20-029 for the cell tower on Tenny Mountain Highway.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to appoint Mr. Whitman?
Oh, appoint him as a
Voting member. He's
voting
an
member,
alternate.
yes. For voting member.
Sure.
So I guess we're ready for you guys to give us the rundown on what's changed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, again, Victor Manugian for Verizon Wireless. Since our last meeting, Mark McCluskey and other representatives met with your consulting engineer and agreed on what to do at the site. And we submitted new drawings both to the town and to Mr. Vignali, your consulting engineer. And we received, I believe yesterday, a letter dated November 16th, basically stating we've reviewed the revised 13-sheet plan set dated November 4th, prepared by Hudson Design Group in accordance with our agreement with the town. Based on that review, we find the plans have been revised as required and are now acceptable from an engineering perspective. So with that done, we're hoping that you would issue an approval tonight, and if there's any housekeeping matters, that they would be a condition of approval. And the only one I can think of is the final NEPA evaluation, which is ongoing, and part of the NEPA process is getting this decision to them, and then that kicks the project forward to the next step. But we would submit the NEPA approval as a condition of any approval that you may grant tonight.
Okay.
And other than that, I don't have anything new. We're open to questions if you have any.
I guess we've got two sheets here. We have one and could you just walk us through that and tell us what you did and why it was done?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mark McCluskey. I'm from Hudson Design Group. I met with several of you out on site on October 15th, I believe it was, for the on-site meeting to review the site and have a visual assessment with the interested members, as well as one of the members from the Conservation Commission. What the town engineers or the consultant engineer had issue was he was concerned that the runoff that would be collected in the drainage swales and by the grading of the road would route runoff to the west off to existing areas that have voiced drainage concerns. So in an effort to take care of that, we put a 12-inch reinforced concrete pipe right at the beginning of the driveway that will collect any runoff that comes down this swale on the western side and scoot it back over to an existing drainage swale that's or a perimeter swale that is at the upper level parking area. I don't know if anyone saw that, but there's a upper parking lot where they have U-Haul storage or trailers stored, and then that swale continues on down, and the consultant engineer was satisfied once I accepted that his request, and it makes sense. In addition, although not part of the planning board's review, we incorporated two hydration swales or conduits to cross the driveway, because Concom was concerned about making sure that the driveway would not interrupt the flow of groundwater to keep these wetlands wet. So we show in plan, and there are details and the construction details which show which these conduits, if you will be approximately 3 by 3 or 3 by 2 large stone or rock conduits across the road and below grade to help any groundwater migrate across over to the to the additional wetlands to the north, or up on the page, as you can see. And we also incorporated that we will, on the sloped areas where the driveway is less than 10% or less, the swales will be grassed. And in this erosion control plan, we show check dams and we show temporary sediment fence or hay bales, straw bales, perpendicular to the flow of the swale. That'll ensure during construction stabilized soil, and hopefully during any rain events, those erosion control measures will retain sediment and help germinate the grass seed and get it vegetated as quickly as possible. But so we definitely took care of the town consultant's engineer's concerns, and with the cleanup of the additional items that I described, I think we have a good plan here for the project. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mike?
Are you, the passage for the water to go from one side of to the other, are you talking like a French drain?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a detail.
Yeah, it's on A4.
A4.
So it is 3 by 3, which will be below the crushed gravel driveway and the driveway itself, and extend from one end or one side to the other side, so that there will be any groundwater that's obviously below the surface to be able to migrate across to the north and help keep that wetland area hydrated.
I have a question. So does this include, I noticed there's the notation, handwritten notation about check dams. Is that part of that construction?
Check dams will be to help any runoff that's going down after a permanent construction and permanent installation. The check dams are to assist to get the runoff off to the side rather than following the swale or gully down all the way. It's to get it off to the side.
So, and those are integral with the,
They're right before, or downstream, if you will, so it ensures that the water coming down the swale will also be intercepted by this and go across to the other side.
anybody have any other questions? Okay, I guess we'll,
I just had one follow-up. The folks, before when they presented, we had mentioned the height of the tower and your FAA compliance. Yeah, something you had said. Follow-up, or is that going to be part of NEPA, CHIP, anybody? There was some technicality or a loose end of, or it was in the works previously? Or
Again, Chip Fredette with Verizon Wireless. Hi, folks. We're working through both the both regulatory processes, FCC and FAA right now.
Yeah, okay.
And so, if you'd like, we can certainly provide to the building inspector a copy of the approval with the application for that whole process.
Right, and that's a secondary after the approval, but I just wanted to double check on where that was. So that's great. Thank you. Yep.
okay, so I guess we should open a short public hearing at this point. So we're going to open the public hearing at 20 minutes of 7. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this project?
Frank Miller, and considering all the elements they've gone through to comply with the engineers, town's representative for a proper site plan, I think that we should see approval on this.
Thank you, Frank. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing at 19 minutes of 7 and come back to the board for any further discussion. And my question is, we have 3 conditions, Sharon, is that right?
Well, yeah, I would just, let me throw this out for your consideration. I mean, boilerplate-wise, all required state, federal, and local permits must or shall be obtained, and that includes the NEPA and the FAA/FCC. And then As per our usual protocol, there will be construction engineering oversight on this, so we're going to need escrow, a surety for the construction itself, and the development agreement, but that's standard boilerplate, stuff, which I handle, but I'll just put some sort of contingency in there that references that, just as long, these folks have worked with this procedure before, so. Yeah, but you'll want all your federal permits, state, local, and federal permits, that's going to cover it. And then I'll extrapolate and itemize what it should be, so.
Any comments from the board? I would entertain a motion to approve this project with the standard boilerplate that Sharon just mentioned.
I move.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor of approving this application with the conditions that Sharon mentioned, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. All right, we are done with that project. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
And we'll be in touch, and at some point, we will need an as-built Mylar once it's done. To go to the registry, but that's down the road, so, so much for coming back.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, well done. Okay, is there any other business tonight?
Not that I have, nope.
One thing that has occurred to me is, as I've been driving through the campus, the last month or so, it seems like sometimes the crossing by the library and the next one up is just getting more and more dangerous, and I don't know, if the planning board feels like.
How so? I mean, specifically.
Specifically, it's caused by the fact that the pedestrians don't actually look at traffic to see if there's traffic coming. And in certain conditions, you can't see the pedestrians because there's not enough lighting on the approach.
Right.
And the white lines that are on the highway, if were freshly painted or wider, you could at least pick out people in silhouette.
On the Highland Street crossing, the main
Yeah.
crossing, yeah.
You would at least be able to pick out people in silhouette. And, I've been looking, the last 2 times I've gone through in the evening, it hasn't seemed so bad, but there were some nights that it was really bad. It was raining,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh crap, there's somebody right in the middle.
The rain definitely makes it worse, I think.
Yes, it does.
But there's, right by the ice arena, that main crosswalk that goes
Yes.
over to the,
Mhm.
you put the,
Blinking.
blinking,
Yeah.
it's motion
Yeah.
censored, so somebody walks.
I thought it did,
It's
It's
yeah.
not- it's on all the time, though.
It's on all the time? I just drove by there and there was kids, I didn't see it.
It wasn't on?
Oh, it was
It's got a
maybe,
motion right by the library, only on one of the crosswalks, there's a
Oh.
motion thing you go by. But I've heard a lot of other people complain.
is it triggered only from the library side or something?
Yeah, I believe it is on the library side. I don't know if it's on the campus side.
And you're right, a lot of times people are doing you-know-what, and they just cruise across, so.
Yeah, I've heard one complaint about the crossing also between the bridge and the traffic in the circle, the roundabout. That the students are crossing, and there's very little light there.
And and that crosswalk's been dug up too, so there's no pavement marking either, right at the circle.
That I'm not
It's paved over, but it's not remarked.
Yeah, so it's where Green Street comes into,
Right.
Yeah, maybe not that one, but the one from the downtown one right there at the island has been restriped, I think, last night or early this morning, because that's that recent.
Okay.
Some white lines, and I haven't gone out of town yet, so perhaps.
I think it's a lot of our crosswalks around the Rotary, the one right, right in front of Town Hall. They're all really horribly lit, and I think there's just, you can't see people at all, so.
so Steve, I've got something I can add to this. So, we sat here in the planning board 6 years ago, when everybody was talking about the new lighting system. We were gonna change over all the lights in downtown Plymouth and put these really awesome lights. And since then, I thought it was my eyes. But I can't see anybody in downtown Plymouth anymore, it seems.
We have 6 lights out, I just counted.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be low energy use, but I think they're also low light output. You can't see anything anymore.
A higher light output.
Well, there are 2 things. South Main Street was redone by the co-op as LEDs. Those are lower energy use, but there were a lot of really big lights, high-pressure sodium lights there before, so it was a cost savings for the town, because it came through the Energy Committee. The main drag here, Frank's probably familiar with the pedestrian-style lights, those haven't been changed, and a lot of them are actually out.
Oh, so,
So that needs to go to the select board for starters, Mike, I would think, just the concerns.
so you're saying the new ones that were put in 6 years ago are better than the old ones?
The new ones were more recent. I'm not sure about 6 years ago. So the ones that the co-op changed on South Main Street and then Russell Street. And
Those are doing
Street,
okay?
Those are newer ones.
Those are also
They're
much brighter.
much
Yeah,
brighter.
there was less glare, wasn't that the thing
Well, they just,
from the old ones, or maybe,
in general, lit up the street
Yeah.
more.
It's more the color recognition is
right,
better.
right.
In some cases, they're a similar amount of energy being used, but for more lumens.
I just know going down Highland Street, it's really hard to see people crossing the street.
I agree. I totally agree.
Well, I think it,
Yeah.
Frank, did you have a comment?
Yes, the Main Street lights were of a lumens to replicate a candle-powered light. It wasn't meant really to illuminate an area, it was just to give us the street effect.
Mood lighting?
Yeah.
It was basically
Ambiance.
1860s light.
Yeah.
What is neat in your crosswalk area is, and especially in the circle, is the solar-powered LED focal lights that shine only onto the sidewalk. So they charge up during the day, and they will put a light right on the sidewalk and not be a wide area, which we were trying to get away with. Dark skies, we were trying to look at energy conservation and all this, but that's the kind of lighting technology we need to put in that is a very inexpensive. It's basically putting a pole in the center divide that runs a light on both sides. It has your solar powered battery that needs to be looked at. The technology's there, that we can still keep control of how much light we emit versus putting the light on just the area of the crosswalk that we want to.
So, Mike, can you shed some light on, like, university and the town? And, I mean, I would think it would be in the university's interest to keep their students from getting squashed. I just didn't know if it was appropriate for the board to send a
Well-
letter to the police chief of the town and the police chief of the university to say, hey, you guys ought to do something about this.
Well, see, this would go through Highway Department in Plymouth. I mean, we deal with even though it's Route 3 and it's DOT jurisdiction. I mean, what they've done is taken those broken cobbles out and dug down and then repaved up. That's happened in the different crosswalks. And as I said, I think last night, because the weather was temperate, or fairly temperate, or early this morning, the first lines of striping got put down, but they don't look like it's the total bit. It's just,
Straight across.
basic, yeah, just to corral people.
But that doesn't cover the Highland.
No, it doesn't, but I mean, this is kind of, there's two aspects to this crosswalk problem, and one is that the cobbles have been pulled up, and that's in process, so Highway would deal with that. Highway would, in conjunction with the university, via the selectmen's authority, would deal with the
So I guess my
Highland Street.
question to the board is this something we want
Something
to
to bring
send a letter
forward.
about, or do we not, we just want to pass it off to the select board?
I can mention at the
Well,
next meeting.
yeah, he's the liaison, so we can
And I
write
know
a
that
letter.
Ray Gosney was the alternate to the planning board for the select board when that was all happening. So it probably would be nice to have someone come to the select board or possibly the planning board to kind of give a brief presentation of what still needs to be done or what was done and what can we do to make the situation safer, so.
Do you think some of it, though, is pedestrian lack of awareness or whatever?
Yeah,
It
but
just
that's
seems so
irrelevant.
dark.
Well, no, I mean, right, I mean, you've got to do the best you can, but I'm just saying, if people just step off and don't observe, which
Right.
I've seen.
Right, but,
Don't-
yeah, but you don't want, I mean,
No, you don't want to hit them for sure.
I think especially on Highland Street, that's an issue. And I think perhaps asking the university for some sort of signage for pedestrians on either side would be totally reasonable.
oh, yeah, that's a good
Well, that's
point.
what I mean, because
Yeah.
I mean, most people are pretty good crossing there, but a lot of people, they don't even look up. They just
Well,
go.
I'll also say that as a pedestrian that uses that crosswalk quite frequently, sometimes I'll pause to let cars go because I know they've been waiting there and cars just, they do just wait. So I think it's this reinforcing thing that cars stop immediately and it's definitely a hazard. But I would say that especially the crosswalk just out here, there's no light on either side of the crosswalk. So students, other pedestrians, you just can't see people when they emerge from behind cars. I think it's really dangerous. It's more light placement.
Yeah.
And most of our crosswalks in the downtown area just have no light on people that want to cross the street, so.
So Highland Street, the roundabout to the bridge, where else? Or,
Out here
Court Street.
right, Court Street?
and across from Burrito Meat, that
Mhm.
corner,
Yeah.
really dark.
Rito Me, Court Street, roundabout to bridge, Highland Street. So anything else that's sticking out to anybody?
Well, just what you mentioned.
Well, I put that
Oh, you
on
did?
roundabout to Bridge Street.
I'd say all corners of the roundabout, every single crossing there, I think is dangerous.
Yeah, right by Small House going
Oh, yeah.
across.
And then you said, what street? Did you say downtown, parallel to Highland Street? Did you mention another street? Thought you did. No? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I guess maybe we can prod some activity and at least, on these two crossings over here.
Yeah, I know that we've mentioned it a couple of times at select board meetings. It's been brought up. But not anything.
So who would be the person at the university to rope in on it?
I think I'll get an email to Paul and let Paul have some communication maybe with the university or whatever he feels
Okay,
he needs to do. But I'll let him know this came from the planning board and go from
okay,
there.
great.
That'd be
you.
good, because it's possible that they're aware of it too and hearing things, and maybe this would help motivate them to do something or to partner in doing something.
And we're entering the dangerous season,
Well,
so.
yeah, and this time of year, because every day, it's darker earlier, and you're transitioning all the time as a driver this time of year, so it is dangerous.
Well, yeah, the commuting time is at a much busier pedestrian, or it's just darker.
And the worst, if it's raining and you're coming up Highland
It's bad,
and the
yeah.
lights from the vehicles coming down are shining in your
It's
eyes,
bad.
you can't see
No,
it.
you can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up. This is something that's bugged me for a while, the lighting,
Yeah.
especially.
And it's come up at the Energy Commission a few times, but it's kind of safety related enough that it seems like outside of our purview. So I know Bill Bolton and Mike Conklin have probably heard it come up a couple times, that crosswalk specifically.
Yeah,
So it shouldn't be
Yeah.
a big surprise.
You want to copy me on the emails, Mike? Sure. That'd be great. Okay, Frank, any comment?
Yes. I think you ought to talk to the police chief who's in charge of public safety. They're the ones that are public safety technicians and knowing the issues with it technically. The other thing is the university, working with them, they're the ones who know the people who make, the manufacturers that make that solar-powered warning sign are the same people that make those lights. Okay, so it's not something it's not magical thinking. It's something that's already in production. They would have an in on where to order them. And I believe the element of public safety, it comes from your public safety officials such as law enforcement to the Board of Selectmen who have the authority to act on it with the university, and it's...
That's what I was thinking too, yeah. All right, so you'll talk to the board and then we'll kind of see where things are and then maybe we'll communicate further with the respective police chiefs and
Sure.
See if we can
Paul, I'm sure will
get
talk to
something going.
Steve LaFave, and then Steve LaFave, I'm sure, could communicate with Steve Temperino.
Great.
Any other new business tonight? Any comments from the public before we
Yes,
close?
I'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Too frank.
And you as well.
Too.
All right, I think we're ready. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we're done. Thank you, folks.